Hi and welcome back to another video. So in today's video we are going to be talking about blocks. Yes, why blocks? So in recent times I've had people ask me about whether making of your own blocks as against purchasing of blocks for a project, which one is the best. Yes, so these are some of the questions I get, and in response to this particular question, there isn't a straightforward answer to it. Yes, honestly speaking, there isn't a straightforward answer. So in today's video, I'll try to touch on a couple of things, and then I believe after some of these explanations or some of these insights, then you decide on which one works for you. Anyway, so we are having the front part of our fence being done. So you have the left side and then also the right side. The reason is because of the continuous and frequent increase in building materials here. So just thought of having it done, because if we keep waiting, prices will not come down anytime soon. So yeah, that's what we are having done here. So I'm sure once it's done, I'll get to share with you what it looks like as well. So back to today's video. So when you take making of blocks on site or making of your own blocks, it has its own advantages as well as disadvantages. And the same way, when you take purchasing of blocks, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. So let's start with the making of your own blocks. I'll touch on maybe a few of the advantages as well as disadvantages, and then I'll do the same for the purchasing of the blocks as well. So when you look at making of your own blocks, some of the advantages you benefit from that will have to do with: one, you are able to save costs in terms of how you go about it, the materials and everything. And then two, you're also able to be in control of the quality that you are looking at. And the third one, also, you decide on the size or the dimensions at where you want to have the block molded. So let's take the first one, saving cost. So saving cost, you're able to save cost when, especially where you are buying the materials from for the blocks. So when you look at making of blocks, you have the option of going in for the quarry dust option or the sand option. Some people even combine both the sand and the quarry dust. So that's also an option that you have. So you look at how much it is going to cost you to purchase these materials: the sand, the quarry dust, the water, and then also the cement. And then you also look at how far the site is from some of these raw materials or resources that you need for the blocks making. So if you look at these costs and then you realize that it is going to be in your favor, then of course that is going to definitely save you some cost or some money when you're able to make your own blocks. So that will be one advantage. And then when you come to the option of being in control of the quality, when you're making your own blocks, and I believe if you have extensive knowledge about block making and the rest, you decide the ratio at which you want to have the aggregates, mixed. So you look at the sand ratio, you look at the quarry dust ratio, you look at both. Even if you're doing together, you look at both of them, the ratio, the water you use, and then the ratio of cement you're going to use for that. And in that case, if for instance a bag of cement is usually used for, let's say, about 28 pieces of block, you can decide, okay, I'm going to be using a bag of cement for about maybe 25 pieces or even 20 pieces of block. In that case, at the end of the day, you are going to be able to determine the kind or the type of quality you want to use. So if people are using 42.5 grade of cement for their blocks, you can decide, okay, I'll be using 52.5 grade of cement for my block. So that is where you're able to decide the kind of quality you want when it comes to making of your own blocks. And then when it comes to the dimension aspect, what I've come to realize that it looks like almost different block factories have different sizes that they use in making of their blocks. And you can actually see this when you tend to buy blocks from different vendors. You notice that there isn't like uniformity in the laying of the blocks. Yes, that's one of the things I've come to realize. So when it happens that way, if you are making your own blocks, you decide, okay, this is the dimensions I'm using. I'm sticking to this throughout. So if it is 5 inches blocks you are making, okay, the width is 5 inches, the height is maybe about 9 inches, the length is going to be about 18 inches. Then that is what you are making. So you're sticking to that route. Some blocks factories, it's interesting to know that when you even measure the 5 inches, it doesn't even add up to the 5 inches. It's sometimes some few inches less. Yeah, so if you are making your own blocks, obviously you're able to control some of these things. So you're able to save cost, you're able to decide your own quality, you're also able to decide the dimensions you want to have the blocks done. Aside from that, now let's switch to the disadvantage aspect. So one of the disadvantages we'll have to do is time. Yes, so time. When you're making your own blocks, it is time consuming. I say this because if you have a project which is time bound, you need to have it completed at a specific time. And imagine you have to have the blocks molded. So you're looking for all these materials, that's the cement, sand, and all that. You're looking for laborers or the skilled personnel who are going to be doing the blocks. You're looking for water, you're transporting materials and the rest. All this is time consuming. That is how come you basically look at shifting all these responsibilities to someone else. You just buy the blocks and come and use them. Yes, so that is the other. So we'll talk about that. So if you're looking at a project which is time bound, then making your own blocks may not necessarily be the option for you because it is really time consuming. After making the blocks, you have to also wait for it to cure and so a whole lot. Aside from the time, you're also looking at poor quality. Yes, I say poor quality because when you look at the making of blocks on site, it is usually being done by some of these manual modes. Yes, and manual modes are normally, the compaction is normally done by human. So the strength of human is doing the compaction. Now, if you compare that to that of machine, you obviously will can tell that the strength or the quality a machine will make, what a human being will make is not going to be anywhere close to that. So then you can have the blocks done all right, but the quality may not be as that of something that has been made from a machine. So if you're looking at having your own blocks being done, you can also look at that. Of course, you can have the option of maybe transporting maybe high quality or maybe automated machines to make the blocks, but that is all going to be part of cost. So are you really going to be saving cost if that is your aim in terms of doing that? Unless, of course, your aim is maybe quality or maybe other things, then yeah. So if you are looking at making your own blocks, another disadvantage would be having poor quality blocks, if especially it is being manually done. Aside from that, also another disadvantage would be these blocks can easily be destroyed. Yes, so when you have a new site, let's take this place for instance, where you have animals like maybe cattle grazing and the rest. Of course, you can go to your site, create or make your own blocks, but if you live there, unless maybe you have someone sleeping over, but even if the person is not around, you can have these animals come by and then they can easily damage the blocks that you have made. I hope you get it. So that will not really be some of the best of options if you are looking at like a new site. Unless it is an enclosed area where it is protected, then you may not necessarily have some of these challenges. So these would be my 3 disadvantages. You look at poor quality of blocks, you look at time consuming, and you can look at your blocks easily being destroyed by animals, even water and so on. Aside from these, now let's look at the purchasing of blocks, the advantages of that, as well as disadvantages. So when you take the purchasing of blocks, it has its own advantages as well. So one of the advantages will have to do with high quality blocks. It also saves you time, and it also can be reliable. Now reliability will vary anyway, so I'll touch on that as well. So when you come to the high quality of blocks, as I was explaining earlier, when you take a block which has been produced by machine, high quality machine, as against that produced by maybe a low quality machine or even manually made, you notice that the automated machine or the high quality machine would have very good quality blocks as against the others. Yes, so that is one of the advantages. You can benefit from that. Now, talking about this, it doesn't mean that any block factory that has maybe automated machine or all block factory having automated machines are producing high quality blocks. I'm saying this because some block factories don't have the best ratio to use in terms of putting these aggregates together. Some may have, but may not even have the right quality of material. So it tends to affect the quality a bit. So an aspect of this video, I'll show you some things you can look out for when you're purchasing blocks. Like So some of the things you can look out for in terms of high quality blocks, so that it helps you in deciding on which kind of blocks or which kind of block factory you should be going for. So yes, if you are purchasing blocks from a block factory, there's higher chances of you getting high quality blocks as against you making your own blocks. And then the second option, it saves you time. So if you have a project which is time bound, you can go purchase blocks today and you can have them delivered today and you can start working with them tomorrow. But if you are making your blocks, you have to produce the block, wait for some time, so it will take you a longer time. So if you are looking at purchasing your own blocks, purchasing blocks from like suppliers, of course, it is going to save you time. And then it can also be reliable. So if we are working with the blocks and then maybe we are running out of block, we can just quickly call the supplier and then he can have the block delivered maybe in some shortest possible time. Some suppliers may delay, but their delays can compared to that of you making your own blocks. You notice that your making of your own blocks will still be a longer duration as against that of those who are supplying your blocks. So these will be my advantages. It saves you time. It is reliable, or it can be reliable, and you also will get high quality blocks. Now let's take a look at the disadvantages aspect. So one of the disadvantages which a lot of people are concerned about will have to do with cost. Yes, it can be expensive. And then the second option will also have to do with reliability. Yes, as I spoke about the positive side, we can look at the negative side. And then the third option will also be you can also end up having low quality blocks. So now let's take a look at the cost. Now, a 6 inches blocks at different locations will cost different amount of money, but it's the same block, it's the same product. The reason is because some locations are far away from where you can get raw materials where you can use in producing these blocks. So an example is where I live. We are closer to or we are not so far from a quarry around, so then you can go buy the quarry dust for the blocks. It won't be so expensive. But imagine a place somewhere in Accra which hasn't got or it's not so close to quarry site, or maybe even a pit where they dig the sand. It means that the transportation cost is going to be added to the cost of the product or the material being supplied. So if a 6 inches block, quarry dust block is selling for like about 7 cedis here, or 7 cedis 50 pesos, somewhere in Accra will be sold for maybe 8 cedis, or 8 cedis 50 pesos, or even 9 cedis, or 9 cedis 50 pesos. Yes, and this is the same 6 inches quarry dust block. So in terms of cost, it can be a bit expensive as against you making your own blocks. Now, aside from that, you also look at the quality. As I was saying earlier, in as much as you may be having like a block factory with modern machines and the rest, they can still end up producing poor quality blocks. And this can be as a result of not following the right ratio to use. And because when you take the blocks, for instance, if you look at the sand, there's a certain ratio of sand you need to use as against the cement, as against the water and everything, and then even the compaction rate and all that, to be able to have quality block. It's the same for the quarry dust, it's the same for combining both. Now, if you're able to follow these well, it means you can have quality blocks, or if the block factory is able to follow this well, they can have quality blocks being made. But if they're not doing so well in that, today you go and buy the blocks are okay, tomorrow you buy the blocks are not so good, yes, it means they are not really, they don't have a pattern, or they don't have like a kind of ratio they follow. Sometimes also the materials that they may be working with can be in low quality. So for instance, the sand, some of the sand may have certain amount of clay content in it, and it can affect the block in the whole block at the end of the day, or the quality of the block. So these are some of the things. In terms of you buying from a block factory, you can still end up having a poor quality block. So when we come to the point where I demonstrate some of the things you can look out for, I'm sure that will help you to be able to decide where to buy your blocks from. And then also reliability. Yes, so like I was saying earlier, some block factory are not so reliable. You call them today, okay, I have some. The next moment you call them, okay, we run out of blocks and the rest. So when it happens that way, it may not really help with your project. That is where sometimes you have to have other options or alternatives, so that if one particular person is disappointing you, then you have other options. But also, it has also its disadvantage. Like I was saying earlier, some of these block factories don't have a specific dimensions that they follow or use for their making of blocks. So if you are buying from Block Factory A, 6 inches, Block Factory B also making 6 inches may not have its 6 inches meeting up to that, or the height may not be as the same as that of Block Factory A. So if you are using this for your project, you sometimes notice that there isn't uniformity in the whole work being done. So that is also another thing you have to look out for when it comes to either purchasing of blocks. So let's move to the point of some of the things you can look out for when you are going to purchase blocks. So one of the things you can do when you go to any block factory to see if they make quality block is basically to lift it to check the weight of it. So I have over here a 6 inches. I think the right way to lift something is to go down. You lift it as you go up. So you notice that this is quite heavy. I must say it is very heavy. You notice I have 2 blocks over here. So this is 6 inches and this is 5 inches. Now, aside from the weight, you lifting it to see if it is actually heavy, one of the things you can also do is to just lift it and then just drop it to see if it breaks. So you notice after lifting this and dropping it, you even notice the sound. It is even doing some form of compaction on the ground. That tells you that this is a high quality block. Now, aside you lifting it and dropping it, if it breaks, it may not always be the case that it is low quality, but sometimes you could have like a stone or rock or something on the ground which may cause a crack within it, and then eventually you'll have a break. But yes, but you lifting it and dropping it, the sound, the weight and everything will help you tell that, okay, this is actually a quality block or not. Now, let me just demonstrate the same thing on this. This is another option. Okay, I did well. I believe you saw that. Just dropping this for the second time, it just goes apart. Let me just drop this for the third time. So from this demonstration, I believe you can tell that this particular block is of higher quality as against this. So aside these two methods, that is lifting, checking the weight, or lifting it and dropping it, one of the things you also can look at has to do with the physical appearance. Look at these 2 blocks. If you look at it very well, look at them. This one has a bit of like a smooth surface as against this. The reason is that if you look at this very well, they both have been exposed to the harsh weather conditions. So they've been in the rain, the sun and everything for a longer time. If you look at this particular block is beginning to wear off. So another test you can also do to see if a block is of a certain high quality is just having water, pour it continuously on the block for some time to see if it wears off. This particular block will wear off and this will not wear off. And even if this wears off, it won't be at a very high rate or pace as against this particular one. So you can also look at physical appearance. You can also try the water test. You pour water continuously on the specific point of the block. So if it is here, you continuously pour water over there to see if it wears off. And if it wears off, that will give you an idea that it is not high quality block. Aside from that, there are some blocks you can easily wear it off with your hand. You can see this. How is it possible for me to be able to break this block or move this block apart with my hand? That tells you that it's not of so much a high quality block. So these are some of the things you can look out for. 1, you can lift it, check the weight. 2, you can look at the physical appearance. 3, you can lift it, drop it. 4, you can do the water test. You continuously pour water on it at a specific spot for like a certain time, a certain duration to see if it wears off. And you can even try with your hand. You can see I'm easily breaking apart this block. So imagine building with this particular kind of block as against this. Which one is really going to do the work well? Imagine you are relying on the blocks as load balancers. Imagine the two, which one is going to really do the work? This is eventually going to end up having cracks within it, whereas this is still going to stay as it is. So it is very important. Blocks play a very crucial role in building. So it is very important you pay attention to some of these things so that you don't end up either producing poor quality blocks, that is if you're having your own blocks made, or buying poor quality blocks, that is if you're buying from a block factory. So I think aside from that, maybe the lifting, one of the thing someone showed me is when you lift it, so if you have 2 of these blocks or more of these blocks, you can just lift it and then just drop it and see what happens. So I just dropped it on this, you notice that. But if it was I had another one of this and dropped it, you notice that it will take a longer time. That's like continuous lifting and dropping before you notice some cracks within it. So I believe this video has given you a couple of insights as to some of the things you can look out for when it comes to either making your own blocks or buying blocks. So I also would like to hear from you some of the advantages you have as well as disadvantages, or some of your experiences you've had in the comment section, so that we all get to learn from it. And then also your quality block test, some of the things you do to identify quality blocks. I also would like to hear from you in the comment section so that we all get to learn from it. Another thing I forgot to mention, which has to do with making of your own blocks, so is that sometimes it is difficult to come by skilled labor to do that. So you should have that in mind as well. Not everybody who says I can make blocks can actually make quality blocks. So yes, so that will be just about it for this video. Thank you very much for sticking through to the end. In case you are new and you haven't subscribed, kindly go ahead and hit on the subscribe button, and then don't forget to hit on the bell so that anytime there's a new video, you get to see it. So I'll see you in the next one.